All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are talking about the Detroit Lions in today's video. We're less than a week away from the NFL draft, and Detroit's got, a late first round pick. I think a lot of us are thinking, an edge rusher. That's been the talk of the offseason is they need more edge rushing help. They need somebody else other than Aiden Hutchinson. And then on this channel 1 week ago, we did an Aiden Hutchinson film study from like the 4 games he played for Detroit last year, and it was like, oh, they really don't need a Khalil Mack on the other side. They don't need a Bosa. They don't need another top 10 edge rusher in the NFL. Not saying those other two were top 10 edge rushers, but you get what I'm saying. They don't need the best edge rusher in the NFL draft. Aiden Hutchinson himself takes the Lions defense last season to the next level. So that's why we did that video last week. And the other talk of the town is, I've got it on the screen here. This is a NFL projection roster ranking before the NFL draft, and they had the Detroit Lions at 3. And the Detroit Lions still, even losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, are a top 5 team. And that's being generous to the rest of the NFL in the league. So, they said trying to replace a pair of top-tier coordinators, and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn isn't ideal, but the Lions have built a roster that should be able to withstand their losses. They went 15-2, top seed in the NFC, even though they suffered through injuries. Getting Aiden Hutchinson back, DJ Reed acquisition shores up some inefficiencies. The only real question I have for the Lions, do they have enough elite talent on defense to get them to the Super Bowl? The answer will be yes, if they can find another standout or two in the draft. And this is something I just completely agree with. And, even the whole coordinator thing is annoying. And I've got even just another one here. I'll pull it up right on the screen. This is from PFF. We'll even do this so you guys can read it a little bit better. This was ranking the biggest Super Bowl windows before the NFL draft, and they had Detroit at 5. In the first sentence, losing coordinators Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson is concerning, but the team still has a bunch of talent. Jared Goff, turning 31, is the second oldest projected starter on offense, which highlights, the young cast in St. Brown, Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs. But they also ranked among the top 10 highest graded players at their positions in 2024. And then, they've got a young safety tandem, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. So my point is, the whole rhetoric around every single thing you read about the Detroit Lions right now is either how badly they need an edge rusher or how badly the coordinators burned them. And the recency bias on, everyone uses the Philadelphia Eagles as the example. Are the Lions really that good? It's April 18th right now. So on TV, you have I'm watching these debates, on First Things First, and I'm listening to guys I don't know if Nick Wright actually said this, but you're listening to guys like Nick Wright and Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp telling me why the Lions Super Bowl window is over because the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles made the Super Bowl, lost both of their coordinators, and then the next season, even though they won 8 straight football games to start it off, they got worse, and they had a second half collapse and lost to Tampa in the first round of the playoffs, and they really got burned with their 2 coordinator losses. 2 things with that. First off, that's recency bias. Use Tampa even as an example. I made a Tampa Bay Buccaneers video about an hour ago. 2 years ago, they lost their offensive coordinator in Dave Canales, who turned around Baker Mayfield, right? He leaves to go be the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. So what do? They hire Liam Cohn. What happens? An even better offensive season. Tampa was the 4th best offense in the National Football League last year. So my point just is the recency bias. People are only using the example of the Philadelphia Eagles from 2 seasons ago. That is the only example they're using. Not it. That's it. That is it. Good coaches. And then the second point to that is good coaches hire good coaches. And that's exactly what Dan Campbell did, whether it was, internal hires or bringing guys over, right? So good coaches hire good coaches. And Dan Campbell to me is a good coach. And even just I'm just throwing this in here because when I first started making Detroit Lions content, it was in the 2022 NFL season. And at that point, Detroit, you guys were either 1-6 or 1-5, and you beat my Green Bay Packers. And I was watching it with my dad. I was visiting my dad out for the weekend, and I made a Lions video because his whole family is from the Detroit area. On my dad's side of the family, that whole side is literally from Detroit. So, we watch a ton of Lions football, a ton of Detroit's football, and I noticed the Lions are building something. And so I would sit back behind the mic during your guys' win streak and your second half surgence in 2022, and a lot of people did not even want Aaron Glenn to be brought back. A lot of people did not like Aaron Glenn 2 years ago, okay? So, or 3 years ago, whatever. That's just what I'm saying. So I don't really buy all this. I kind of view it as like fear mongering. We've got right here the state of all 32 franchises. We got the Detroit Lions over on PFF today, and I'm just even pulling up their season stats last year. The first ranked offense in the league, first in touchdowns, second in passing, sixth in rushing. Defensively, they were fifth in offensive rushing or rushing yards given up per game. They were seventh in defensive scoring. And so PFF, let's make sure this is on the screen. PFF has the Lions' remaining starter needs as edge, remaining depth future needs as guard and wide receiver. And we're about to get into a little mock draft or some mock draft talk, because I agree, even outside of, Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think they give an example here. Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond are free agents next spring, but even just in general, the Lions should, at some point in the draft, doesn't matter the round, just maybe not the first round, they're going to go out there and get a wide receiver. And then the whole edge thing, Detroit re-signed Marcus Davenport to a one-year deal to fill the other edge next to Aiden, but he's never played more than 550 snaps in a single season. So yeah, there's a bunch of players mocked to Detroit right now. I'm going to pull up a mock draft in just 1 second, and they had you guys actually taking a quarterback, but I'm going to just pull up on the screen here, because once again, everyone says, oh, the Detroit Lions defense, it's not what it used to be. I'm looking at this. Still insanely good. And all of the depth pieces that had to be starters last year are still on this team. So the defensive line, the starters penciled in: Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Marcus Davenport. Linebacker room, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell. You've got Malcolm Rodriguez and Derek Barnes coming back. The cornerback room, we got Terrion Arnold entering year 2. We got Meek Robertson, Detroit year 2. DJ Reed comes over from the Jets, and then one of the best safety rooms in the NFL, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. So I always love to just bring up the depth chart just to kind of remind people who are freaking out about the coordinators and not another edge rusher that it's still an incredible roster. Now, this is a PFF mock draft from, I think his name's Josh Leiskowitz, and I think this is old, but Siobhan Revel in the first round, pick number 28, you keep hearing, the reason I just wanted to even throw this in here, because I think Revel is going to be an absolute study towards ACL in September. Otherwise, this would be one of the best cornerbacks that people are talking about, like first 15 picks, at least in my opinion. But the point is, Brad Holmes, his whole MO and what he said continuously throughout this offseason is they are not drafting based off of need. They are drafting off of best player available. So what I want to hear from you guys down below is, who do you want? Who's your best player available at 28 that no matter how the first 27 go, like if that guy's available, the Lions should pick him? Let me know who that is down below. And then also, maybe give me a 2 position groups, cornerback, edge, et cetera, that you would prefer Detroit to use their first round pick on. So that's it for me. Hope to calm or settle some nerves here. There really shouldn't be any nerves over in Detroit right now. I think maybe the Red Wings didn't make the playoffs, and that should be where the anger is. The nerve should be in the first round playoffs against the New York Knicks, not about the future state and the current state of the Detroit Lions. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and we'll see you soon. Peace.